Welcome to the Matt Report, a podcast for building businesses with WordPress. Subscribe to the Matt Report at mattreport.com/subscribe. And now your host, Matt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Matt Report. As always, your host, Matt. And today, another great guest, Rachel Baker from the Wirecutter, popular WordPress contributor. We're going to talk all about the WordPress REST API, what it is, what it does, what it can be. When will we get it? When will we get our REST API? We're going to sort of dive into that into the show. We're also going to learn a little bit more about what she does at the Wirecutter, what she does with WordPress, what she does with the team, how the whole publishing media side of WordPress works, and what they're doing to sort of make WordPress work in that context. So this is definitely a great discussion, great high-level discussion. It's going to be very useful for those of you that want to get some insights into WordPress at scale. I hope you do enjoy this episode. And if you do, I'd love a 5-star review on iTunes. Head on over there, leave us a 5-star review. If you're at my site, mattreport.com, just click on the right-hand side. There's a link directly to iTunes, and you can give us a 5-star review there. It helps us get found. Helps folks sort of get some more exposure to learning about WordPress, not only just for their business, but who's doing what in the WordPress world. It's a great way for us to learn from new folks. Going to probably take off at the end of September. It's still August right now, but of course, probably the last half of September will probably be a break from the Matt Report, and we'll probably kick things back up again come October. But I got two guests lined up for you for the remaining shows of the Matt Report for the summertime. Rob Walling of Get Drip or Drip recently sold his software as a service, Drip, to Lead Pages. So that was a very good discussion there for those of you who are interested in what it's like to run a SaaS business, what it's like to grow to a few million in revenue. That was definitely a great conversation there. And then I have Nathan Barry right after him, who started ConvertKit, another email automation tool, recently raising a bunch of money as well. So we're going to talk to Nathan, learn about that journey and what he has in store for the business. As always, mattreport.com/subscribe. Number one way to stay connected is join the mailing list over there. I'd love to hear from you. I mean, if you got any questions or concerns, just tweet at me at Matt Report or at Matt Medeiros, or email me. It's the Matt Report blog at gmail.com. I'd love to hear what you want to learn from the next season of the Matt Report. I'm probably switch it up again. Like this season, we were getting back to the roots of talking to folks and interviewing folks. Do you want more of that? Let me know. I'd love to. If you want me to explore other areas of your interest, let me know. Again, tweet at me at Matt Report. Join the mailing list, mattreport.com/subscribe. Without further ado, let's talk to Rachel. Hey, Rachel. Thanks for joining us on the Matt Report.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
So, you're quite popular. I've been following you for quite some time, as I do a lot of my guests. But for folks who don't know who you are, what is it that you do for a day job? What is it that you do for WordPress? And what is it that you do for fun?
Sure. So my day job, my official title is lead engineer at the Wirecutter, where we run the wirecutter.com and the sweethome.com. It's kind of the next generation of consumer review sites. So that's my day job. What do I do for fun? Well, I have a 5-month-old, so most of my non-work or sleeping time is kind of running him down. Or right now, what I do for fun is I buy him things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to buy him a Batman onesie because I think that's cool.
I would like to wear a Batman onesie.
Yeah, or a Cubs outfit, that kind of stuff.
Nice. I have a 1-month-old, which you might hear at some point in this podcast. Maybe crying in the background, perhaps.
Yeah,
He's
same here.
right now. That's awesome.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. You too, of course. It's a great new experience. The days just sort of mesh together, right? There's just one giant day.
It completely. It's having a kid has been the hardest program I've ever had to debug. Fine.
Yeah, I know. Right, exactly. So let's just quickly chat about that. What's that like? 5 months in, and having a day job and doing all that you do in the WordPress world. How do you balance it? Do you work from home? Do you work at a shared co-working space? What does the technicals look like to get you separated from home life to work life?
Sure. Well, I work from home. I do have an office. I do have like a shared space in Chicago in the Cards Against Humanity office. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Yep.
Where I have a desk there with a monitor and stuff, and I try and go there a few times a week, but mostly I work out of my house. I have an office that's like closed off.
Soundproofed and whatnot?
Not fully, as you may at some point here, but yeah, it's. I guess you asked like how I balance it all. I guess it was a poorly. It's like something that always has to win, and usually it's just like whatever is more on fire or more critical. It has made me like have to pull back a little bit from like my extra curricular or like what I like my WordPress fun time. I don't have as much of it anymore. Actually, I have very little extra fun time at past work, but
which was something I always heard people say. Like, before, and I was like, no, I'll have plenty of time. It's gonna be easy.
Yeah, and now I find myself doing like I call it like the nap Pomodoro, where it's like the kid goes down and like takes a nap. And you're like, I don't know if I have like 20 minutes,
right,
or like 90 minutes.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna start doing laundry and start doing this, and then sometimes you're like, oh, if I'd have known you to sleep for 2 hours, I would have done work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been saying the same things. Well, obviously, I'm 1 month yesterday. If you're 5 months, so looks like it's still the same for me for the next 4 months, based on your trends.
I hear. I mean, it gets better. That's what people tell me. So I'll that's the motivation that kind of helps through the 1 month to 2 month turnaround. So it gets better.
Nice. So let's chat about the Wirecutter. And I've used the site a million times, searching for anything from the best headphones to the best laptops. Recently, researching the best air conditioners. And landed on the sister site.
The Sweet Home, yeah.
So, what's the day look like for you? What are you tackling in terms of WordPress? What are you managing on that side of the house?
Sure. Well, I guess first, the Wirecutter existed for like three and a half years or so, without a full-time engineering person. I was their first full-time developer hire, and which meant that I inherited a lot of legacy code.
Is this code that the people who founded the site just like sort of slapped together, for lack of a better word, or did they outsource already and sort of build it and then hand it over to you, kind of thing?
No, our current site actually is. Have you ever heard of the OWL? The AWL? Like,
yep.
It's a block. Okay. Some like the developer from the OWL kind of took their theme and did a find and replace number, and then then other stuff got added on top to become like the Wirecutter. So there's we have Meta that's still called that's AWL underscore something. And I'm like, what the heck? So I think that was kind of the second or third iteration of the site, but that's how our current that's kind of just an idea of what our current code base is. It's not the founders did it or anything. It's a developer from, I think them and the OWL used to be partners, so a partner site developer kind of hodgepodge something together, which I'm sure was the assignment. No, I'm not blaming that person.
Sure.
But
let's not burn any bridges on this show.
Well, I haven't developed, I understand, we've all done those kind of things. You're like, really? Okay, I'll do, this is what you want? So be it. So now we actually have a full-time staff in our engineering department of 5, including myself. Yeah, of 5, and we have Reactive Studios is our agency partner, and we get we have time from Josh Eaton and Zach Willis from Reactive.
Nice.
On our team. So it's kind of like we have like a kind of manage a team of 6 developers. So my day job actually isn't a lot of writing code anymore. My day job is mostly figuring out what we're going to do and helping kind of the other 6 engineers like do their job. Tackle the actual like tasks and do a little more high level, like what are we going to do next, or like, you know, so-and-so doing, I don't know, like our front-end engineer doing task X means that like the person who's going to do test B needs to know like this information or whatever, or that can start like next week, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
But our sites do run in WordPress. We also we have an internal application that, so if you go to, you said the best air conditioner, right?
Yep.
If you go to that page, there's the air conditioners you see listed there, like the products that we pick. That's kind of powered by an internal application that I architected, scoped, and like helped build. Josh Eaton helped with the architecture, but a lot of our team built it. It launched it in May, and it's like an internal API that runs on It's powered by Laravel, so that's pretty cool.
So this is like so I'm on that page right now. So I Google the best air conditioner, and looking at that page, I see the LG, which I went to buy and it was out of stock. So so I ended up getting something else. But this like sort of content structure, this is sort of separate from WordPress.
Yeah, it's pulled into the CMS via an API.
Interesting.
And then like so you said the LG is like out of stock, right? Like when we are able to know that LG is out of stock, they could add like, I don't know, is there a button there? I'm purposely not looking at my computer, but like if there's a button there, where's the LG come from? Is it Amazon or Home Depot? Or
this one's Home Depot.
Okay, so
I should say
it's someone's job. Someone like would get a notification that like it's out of stock, and then they would like look for somewhere else to buy it, and they would like add that source, and then like magically on the page, like the Home Depot button would go away, and then there'd be like a Lowe's button, hypothetically.
Got it.
Right?
So that person whose job is to scour the internet for all products, does he or she have like an app that they use on their machine, and they just quickly punch in
Well, we send them the notification that they have to do it, and then they kind of prioritize it by like what content it is, and then I don't know, they've just been doing this for so long, like it's an individual that's been with the company.
Got it.
Since it was founded, so
that sounds like a sweet job.
Yeah, I don't know. One of the things I always think is interesting to like watch other individuals like workflows and how they do stuff. Like this kid's got some, he's got some macro moves.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's probably really good at StarCraft too.
Probably.
So I want to break this down a little bit because I'm actually, again, not to promote my stuff here, but I've launched a new site called Plugin Tuts. It's all about plugin overviews and tutorials for WordPress. And I'm looking at the Wirecutter and the Sweet Home, and I'm like, I want to make a site as useful as those sites. And I'm looking at it saying, how can I structure my content? Not copying it, but, I love the table of contents and, information in the sidebar and, just everything. I just feel like it's, the content is well placed, the links and everything, or advertiser or the affiliate links are well placed, and I just like the sort of little details in there. But why couldn't native WordPress handle, this function or this API structure?
That's a great question. So this actually used to be in WordPress for us when the first iteration of kind of like this product database internally was built. It was in WordPress, and and since yeah, most of your listeners are technical. Like I will the one of the things is originally the Wirecutter and the Sweet Home were two separate WordPress sites, so there were like two separate product databases. One of the things like I did was we rolled them together into a multi-site, so the Sweet Home runs like a parent of the Wirecutter theme, and they share users and stuff, so like that cut down on a lot of administrative overhead on our side and duplicate logic, but from everything being separate, when we're going to kind of bring them together, if hypothetically, you said you were looking at this, right, like on the Sweet Home. So if for some reason the Wirecutter did something where they wanted to mention the same air conditioner, we didn't want to make it so they had to do like a cross-site query just to pull in that air conditioner, right? Because it's like, it's not WordPress doesn't do that very efficiently.
Right.
And to do that, and some of our reviews, like we have like our camera stuff, it's like there's like 60 items in there. Like things like the best travel gear and that kind of stuff. Like, the products go across sites so much.
Sure.
And originally the complexity of what we wanted to do there with the products wasn't too insane, but as kind of the business need grew, it's got so complex that it was like the data model that WordPress gives you didn't fit what we wanted to do anymore. And we had like, I want to say like 20,000 products, and we're using like taxonomies and stuff to like terms to tie them together. Mm-hmm. And when I would try to figure out like with a very, very complex query, like what were our like top picks across reviews, like doing all those joins on my 16 gigabyte laptop locally, like on the database, it would like freeze my machine. Like I couldn't even like run it in like a VM. Like I would have to, I'd have to like do these reports in batches.
Right.
So it was just, it's, like WordPress is great at like content, but just the scale at which we were using this and kind of the complexity, it made it so every time you hit that air conditioning page, you don't want to do essentially like a WP post meta and taxonomy query for each of those items. Like that just starts really adding up.
Right.
So.
Right. And so, for the folks who aren't as technically advanced on listening to the show, we're going beyond just, hey, you might be on the Wirecutter and you might be querying let's just say just the post link for the best air conditioners on the Sweet Home site. It's going beyond even just a simple, hey, I just want to link this post from this website to the other. We're talking, maybe the air conditioners BTUs, right? Like 12,000 across, anything under $300. You might be doing those types of more deep dive queries, on the Wirecutter site. You might. And that's the kind of data that you're talking about. So lots of it, lots and lots of it.
Yep, and we just wanted to make it so this product data that we already had, when it comes time to research a new content piece, like our headphone writer, when it comes time for her to do another one that's like maybe the best closed back headphones under $100, right? In her mind, she already has a bunch of candidates, but she might want to see like what are some products that we've reviewed that kind of fit within this scheme already, to be able to know maybe what she shouldn't review for this or what she should make sure she considers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And our writers actually don't have access to they don't work in the CMS. They write their content in Google Docs, but so we needed to make that information like available to her and like our research department who don't access the CMS, where right now, by having this in another application that has like an API, like they can just they can go somewhere and like get it.
Oh,
So,
I see. So
yeah.
I'm foaming at the mouth here, and let me tell you why.
Sorry.
There's two things. So one, you already answered my question. I had one of my questions. What are the particular challenges that you face with multiple WordPress sites? And you've already clearly answered that for sure. Second was the actual workflow of your writers. And I did have a question. Does anybody actually log into WordPress and post anything? From the writing team, editorial staff, whatever. The answer is obviously they do it in Google Docs.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. I love Google Docs. I hate trying to get Google Docs into WordPress. Yep. So how do you do it?
That's actually a great question. It's actually something that, well, so first of all, we have a production team that are amazing. And one of the reasons we don't have our writers directly enter content in our CMS is that because there's like adding, I mean, it's not just like writing the piece of content for us, right? Like there's a bunch of extra things that they have to do, like add every product, and that if it's not already added, and find a place to source it from. Like there's a bunch of extra work that goes into it, where it just once the company got large enough, it was like, we want the headphone writer to write the piece, and then hand that off to someone who, like, all that person does is take the content and get it prepared and ready for being online, and making sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed in all the places that they need to be. So, so we have staff that does that. They're amazing. Their workflow is not the best. We're actually working with them to try and make it easier, but it's kind of a little hodgepodgey right now. One of the cool things that actually one of our production team members made is we're a unique site in that, like, we have evergreen content. So you said you were looking like the best air conditioner. I'll actually use a different one because people don't think all we do is review air conditioners. Like the best TV on the Wirecutter. Yep. Every year we update this one piece of content for the best TV. We do it around the same time every year. But when the writer goes to update that piece, what we do is we have like a site that they can go to where they can enter the URL and it'll scrape the content for them. Because in the CMS, right, I can't just give them like post content because there's a bunch of like meta fields. So that from within the back end of the CMS, it's not like obvious like where everything fits in, right? So we have a little script that'll scrape the HTML for them and put it in a Google Doc, where then the writer will then go and like start backing stuff out and like work from that, right? Like work from the review last year and kind of see like what models were recommended or what they said, and completely, I mean, depending on the scope, some things like the best TV actually end up getting like completely rewritten, but then there's some things like, trying to think of something that doesn't change very much. Maybe like the best blender, the best garbage cans, I should get. Where I mean, hey, that garbage can's awesome. Yeah. Where maybe only like a quarter of it will get rewritten because like there hasn't been, unlike TVs where there's like new models every year, right? Like there's not new garbage cans every year. There might be adjustments to models and some new things get tested, but like, it doesn't end up being a complete rewrite, or would be a possible candidate for likely wouldn't be a complete rewrite, or maybe only like a quarter of it gets changed. So
it's fascinating. That's fascinating stuff. Somewhere in the world, Matt Mullenweg is throwing his iPod around saying, why don't you just do it in WordPress? WordPress can handle it, right?
Well, and it can. So actually, and that's what I was getting. It's like one of the cool things that we do is so I said we have this evergreen content. So when, for the best garbage can or the best TV, like the writer comes and tells their production team, like, all right, this is ready. When they do get to the point of like putting the content in the CMS, they can't like update a live content piece, right? Because as I said, like these might be a complete rewrite where it has to be like copy edited and like, you know, the person may have to go to the bathroom and like after they've entered 2 hours of work, you know, they can't hit save because then you're actually like, impacting live content. So we have a feature. Actually, one of the first things like I built when I joined the company is that's what they were doing. They were kind of like just editing live content and just kind of keep that tab open. And it's like, that's crazy. So now they can like clone an existing piece of content into like a temporary post, paste the updated Google Doc in there, make whatever adjustments, get it fully copy edited, approved, and then even like schedule replacing like the best TV with this completely new piece of content. So they can like they can do a clone, make a bunch of changes, and replace. And we do that within WordPress, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So and just so I make sure I understand this correctly, because I want to make sure that I'm not losing my mind when I create, because I do the same thing. I draft my posts in Google Docs, and I send it to an editor, and she cleans it up for me, and then I copy-paste just plain text into the text editor, but then you go in, your production team then goes in and formats the headings and probably inserts all the graphics and other rich media. So is it going from Google Docs and what I'll call plain text into WordPress and then it's getting edited there? Or is this process that you're describing actually taking the styling changes from the production team and applying that on the copy-paste, for lack of a better word?
We have they have like a Google Docs macro that'll take the Google Doc and kind of copy it as HTML.
Yep.
And kind of clean that up a bit and use that to paste, which gets them, it's not perfect, but like gets them a little bit of the way there. So it's not fully, you know, like have the bold stuff,
right.
You know. Yeah, but it is
like it doesn't have the pull quotes, you know, positioned to the right or the left and all that
right.
stuff. Okay.
Right, which then our production team would do anyway, but because like when the editor's turning content, like it really is in just text. So the pulling out of the quotes and stuff, like we have so writer or multiple writers will like write a guide, and then there's someone who like edits it, who at some place like at the bottom of the Google Doc is like, this should be a pull quote, like whatever. And then it goes through copy edit, and then it goes through like like a final review by the editor to then can say like this image should be up here, like that kind of stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's well, it's
reassuring.
Yeah, it's reassuring to me that that there is no best practice, but it is kind of cool to hear some of the technical advances that your team has made with that stuff.
Ideally, you should be able to just go from like writing the Google Doc, right?
Yes.
And like hit in a button and have it just magically show up in WordPress. And I know that there's there's a newspaper in Maine that had an extension that did this, but we have so many meta fields that it's like to parse that with like a regex gets really complicated. So I don't know. Ideally, at some point, I would love to have us get there.
On a real basic level. So for just a typical, me, regular blog post, a couple of photos and stuff like that, I use an app made by John Saddington, who used to be the head of 8-Bit. It's called Desk, and you can get that at desk.pm. And it's great for bloggers, right? Because you're not doing anything super complex. But even that has its inconsistencies, especially with like block quotes or aligning media left and right or what have you. But it handles the headline, the header tags and all that stuff, and links and a basic image insert. But it's still not perfect, but it gets the job done for a regular blogger. So that's what I'd recommend if you're listening to this going, yeah, I'm pulling my hair out too. But again, for the deeper, longer posts with everything, and with my editor, it's just so much easier to do it in Google Docs because she can go in and just scoop it up and do her thing. I wish it was easy as copy pasting, for sure. Something I'm interested in, and I'm wondering if you and your team go through this, but you must hear the buzzword content marketing and sort of just chuckle at it and just be like, that's what we've been doing for years, right? This isn't something new. But I feel like the presentation of content, because of this buzzword, if you will, and sort of the way Google, I guess, has changed SEO, and I'm not an SEO expert by any means, but the competition to create great content, and not just great content, but how it's presented to the user, whether it's on desktop or mobile device or who knows, a VR headset in a couple of years. What does that look like in your day job? I've noticed that most articles are consistent, like content structure and layout and design. But I see some media properties from like the Vox, when they do a long form content, it's much more storytelling, deeper, enriched graphics and things like that.
Right.
Laid out differently. Excuse me. Is that something that your team does at some capacity with some pieces that maybe I haven't seen, or is it on the horizon, or is just maybe nothing that comes into play with your stuff?
That's a great question. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen this a lot in, like the New York Times does this with like special pieces, like Pitchfork does this with like special pieces as well, where they get like a really special treatment and kind of don't look CMS-y cookie cuttery at all.
Exactly.
I think the Wirecutter is a utility site, right? Like you go to it because at some point someone told you about it and you bought something and had a great experience. Like about something that we recommended, or maybe mention that we don't recommend, but somehow fit your use case, and you trust us, so you come back. But you're looking for something, and by presenting information in kind of a similar fashion, it makes it so we try to make it so it's like scannable. But at the same time, our pieces are really, really long. Like our writers and our entire staff, like we are a bunch of nerds. Like we have people who are last summer we published a thing on the Sweet Home on the best sunscreen, and we have like a Slack bot that says like when things are published, and I saw like it got published, and I was like, I'm gonna check that out. And next thing I know, like I wasted like 45 minutes of my life, but I knew more about sunscreen than like anyone else. And so for the rest of the summer, when I see someone put on sunscreen, I'd be like, blah, 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 blah. I was a hit at parties. But
do you know what's in that sunscreen?
But where I'm going here is that, like, I don't know. On our current like product roadmap, we don't have doing extra special pieces like that. We're kind of will stick to the skimmable stuff, because to some degree, like even if you don't buy something, buy the thing from us. Don't buy the air conditioner from us, Matt. The thing is, like, next time you want something, from reading that guide, just if you read that review, you'll find out way more about air conditioners than like you did before. And even if you don't buy something from us, like you'll be a much more informed buyer, so that the next time when you want to buy, go to buy something else, like you need a new blender or some sort of like other, purchase where you're like, I don't know, I could just go to Amazon and throw a dart on a board, right? Or I can go to Wirecutter and see what they or Sweet Home and see what they recommend. Like that's what we want. And not saying there's no better way we could be presenting our content and whatever, but to kind of give it a lot of extra like visual treatment and make it different than the best $50 headphone review, I don't think that gets us to, that don't allows us to be the utility site that we want to be. Just like anytime you search Google for something, it's the same. You get the same review. You get the same search results listings. There are slight variations, but like you know what to expect, and that's kind of we need to be that consistent.
Yeah, and that's a great answer because there are plenty of times where I'll go to again like another review site for I don't know something else and with this rich experience, especially if it's loading on mobile. I won't mention any names, The Verge, but if I go to that site and I pull up a review on a recent phone, and then it's like playing, especially on mobile, it's like playing a game of whack-a-mole, because as all the assets load and then all the advertisements load, like I'm trying to read a paragraph and then boom, it pushes down on the screen. Like, I got to scroll back up, and then all of a sudden the video loads and that pushes down. Like, okay, now I got to scroll back up again. And then the full screen Samsung ad plays and it's just like, oh Jesus, get me off of this. Sometimes just give me text to read with a couple of images, and I'm good to go. I don't need to be. I don't need to watch a 30-second, film festival video to get this thing going.
Yeah, but they do. I don't know. A lot of sites. One of the things that there's like reviews.com is like another competitor of ours, or Kinja is another one, and I think one of the things that these sites do the better than us is present their like findings or what they recommend folks should buy. Like their presentation of the product or something is a little better. Where those kind of like I think there's lots of things we can learn from other sites like that, but it's doing that while still keeping our nerd cred and making it so we remain being a utility site. It's going to be an interesting balance in the future.
Sure. I was going to lead with this question right when we hit record, but I'll ask it now. Why can't we have the REST API built into WordPress?
I don't know.
Throw the grenade and run.
I thought that would be what you would open with as well. That's a great question. I would have really liked it to be.
To say,
I'm sure you're going to ask me a bunch, like a series of questions related to this, and I guess I just want to put this disclaimer on. This interview is coming in a strange time where if we would have had this interview probably a year ago, I would have been much more optimistic. Right. Ryan McHugh spent, 3.5 or so years working on the REST API. I spent Ryan spent 3. I spent well over 2. And it's hard because it's essentially, so for those that don't know, the REST API project for WordPress is right now to programmatically communicate with a WordPress site. WordPress core has an XML RPC API built in. That API works. It's kind of iterated and evolved over time to be, to have more features and have more coverage within WordPress. It kind of the format of XML data is more meant for document exchanges than data. The REST API is a project Brian McHugh started in a Google Summer of Code many years ago to bring a new API that would eventually replace the XML RPC API called what is now we call like WP REST API. In WordPress 4.4, the infrastructure for the REST API was merged in. Thank you, Wonderboy Music, for merging that in. But there are no core endpoints, meaning that like the infrastructure is there. So core if you use like the embed post feature, that actually uses a REST API endpoint. But there is no way to like get a post via an endpoint right now from the infrastructure. Those endpoints are still sitting in a plugin that is on GitHub. It's also in the WordPress repository. But our plan, I guess, was that to put the infrastructure in one release, and the next release roll in the core endpoint, which would be posts, users, taxonomies, terms, comments. I think that's it. Mm-hmm. And post types and like post statuses, and media. But we are, about Ryan, myself, Daniel Beckerber, and Joe Hoyle, we are 4 individuals, and we are not WordPress lead developers, and we are not the end decision makers for what the standard or what gets rolled into WordPress at some point. But we just started getting really mixed messages over where we needed to have the endpoints, like where they need to be at in order to get into WordPress core. And we still kind of get mixed messages, and it just kind of became, that's fine. Like, we have other things we can work on. Like, we're, cool. We'll keep this as a plugin. And while the intent was always to roll it into WordPress core, the farther we get away from the more time passes, the farther our endpoints get away from core, because it's a lot to maintain. We're essentially maintaining a fork of WordPress. To try, anytime a change gets made in WordPress, where like a new query param is at like, just in upcoming 4.6, there's like a new post types object, where we actually need to update our endpoints to work with that. But there's no one to do that work right now, because none of us are really excited about getting this ready to roll into core. So it's kind of sitting there and as a very, very tragic tale of open source don'ts.
You are so kind, Rachel. You are so kind. Some of the folks listening actually have asked me before, because I've talked about the REST API, the WordPress REST API on the show before, and I'm by far not a developer, and even I don't know sort of all the technicalities around it. But for folks who are listening who do use WordPress, maybe it just as their content marketing blog, or most of them are consultants or small consultants for small businesses building sites for folks. What's like one benefit of having the REST API built into core that they could tap into? Because a lot of folks have reached out to me before saying, Matt, this sounds like an awesome project, but we don't even know what we would do with it. Is it maybe connecting other WordPress sites to one another to pull content and data in? Is it connecting to third-party services and, pulling in your Dropbox files into your WordPress site? Like, what is one advantage that the everyday WordPress consultant could tap into if it were shipped with core? I know it's a loaded question, but if there's one thing that you could...
Sure. So, this is a great question. I think this is one of the things our team has the hardest answering, because you're going to hate my answer, which is there are so many things you can do with it. It's not necessarily focused on one. You could, if this existed in core, use something like WordPress, like WordPress.com has Calypso, which is a desktop application that then allows you to, you write posts and stuff like on a native Mac application that then just go into WordPress, meaning like you don't copy and paste right? Like you write within this app and then you hit publish and like it actually publishes on your WordPress site. You could then go into your WordPress site on WordPress.com, see the post that you wrote, like they're listed, and edit it there. Hit save, go back to your application, pull up the same post, and see your edits there. So it's like it opens up the administration and content from your WordPress site and makes it available to other sites or application or service integrations. You gave the example, Matt, of could I use this to pull like all my Dropbox images in? And the answer is like no, because you know what? Dropbox has an API. So you could do that now because Dropbox has an API and a RESTful JSON returning API that would allow you to do what you just said. So this brings that to WordPress. Certain things like adding users or creating posts require the same permissions that WordPress itself does. It opens this up to someone creating a mobile app that makes it, easier to add or edit content on your phone. That doesn't rely on like the Jetpack API. It opens it up to if you have more than one site, being able to display content from the other site without, even if they're completely separate sites. It opens us up to so many things that I truly believe are needed for WordPress to, one, meet its own mission of democratizing publishing, and to continue to grow as a content platform, because one of the important parts of being a content platform is that you enter content, but then you can make that piece of content available in more than one place. And right now, WordPress is pretty limited to you can write a piece of content and have that your post is available on your site. But now, once you write the blog post and it's available on your site, what if you then have a business site and you want to, in the sidebar, show your most recent posts from your own blog, or in some ways show it on your business site in a way that fits the theme of your business site, but the content is pulling from somewhere else. These are all things you can do. It's the list is unending.
It almost sounds like it would solve exactly what you have going on with the Wirecutter and Sweet Home.
Yeah, it does. I mean, yeah, some of it. I think it just. I mean, if you have if you're for plugin developers, I think this is this is the most amazing thing ever. So when I think about things like gravity forms, being able to make data that people entered into a gravity form and be able to pull that out or query against it in on another site or in an application, or let's say a calendar plugin to make it so the events you have listed on a site, you can make those available via URL, and it's as easy for sites to pull in as it would be an RSS feed. To then they can read the events and display them themselves. It's pretty great.
So one of the things that, one of the many things that I heard while at WordCamp US, this past WordCamp US, a lot of folks talking about it, of course.
Including me.
Including you. A lot of folks were like, hey, this is... So it was a lot of buzz, right? So people are like, this is amazing. Right. There was one camp where one camp was, this is amazing, but we don't know what we're going to do with it. And I think you've definitely sort of answered that. A lot of folks I heard was, was about the admin, right? So now we can decouple the admin from the front end, and guess what? You know, we can do all these things with the front end now. It doesn't have to be a WordPress theme anymore. It could be something else. It could be another language. It could be whatever. You could feed it to your Samsung TV and display it there, you know, or whatever, or your Samsung refrigerator, or whatever. I'm wondering. So I see that. I'm like, wow, this is awesome, right? This is great. They come up with this new admin experience. But is that the fear, right? Or is that the conundrum in this is you might not know it's WordPress anymore, and that's kind of icky feeling, for lack of a better word. Like some folks might be like, we really want it to continue to be WordPress. We want to know that WordPress is the front end as well. Or is there this fear that you don't even know it's WordPress anymore? So is WordPress growing beyond with the REST API? Does that make sense? Do you think that is a particular concern?
I don't think it is, but actually it brings up a good point, which is this is the question you just brought up of folks that hear about the REST API and understand it. One of the first possibilities or solutions that they think of is we can finally create our own WordPress admin. And the problem with that is that, as I said, the REST API's team's plan was to let's release these like core endpoints and then iterate from there. So add endpoints to support widgets or like navigation menus or other things. And because folks want this ability to kind of create custom WordPress admins, that is actually extremely difficult in WordPress. Which is the reason why no one does it right now, really.
Right.
There's a few, right? But I pity them every time there's a WordPress release, and I see, like, even in the most recent one, like, we changed like the default font schema, and I'm like, good luck, folks.
Right.
Like, you know, you're gonna have to adjust all your CSS to fit this. But the WordPress itself wasn't built to kind of allow for customizable admin experiences and to be able to fully support anything you can do in the WordPress dashboard with like endpoints that would allow someone to fully customize this. And I mean, like, fully, like, as this, you know, there's things we already offer the add images, except like add create posts, pages. What I'm talking about is like setting a theme, maybe, or setting a plugin, or navigation menus, widgets, that kind of stuff. In addition to, like, well, then we have to create endpoints to do all of that, and that WordPress itself doesn't support it. It's that across 4 people, we can't add that kind of stuff in a secure, working, usable manner, and feel good about even offering that in the plugin. So if it's taken us this long to get to have stable core type endpoints, if the end goal really is to only release an API if you can do everything you could do within the application itself, that's such a high bar. I don't know how you do that unless you kind of halt on core features for a release or something and have everyone focus on building these endpoints.
Right. I mean, it's such a massive undertaking.
It is.
In your position of launching with the set endpoints that you had originally planned, or that the team had originally planned, was your typical, or is your typical, minimal viable product, even though I'm sick and tired of throwing that term around, but it's your MVP to iterate on as we go.
Well, and as I said, like that's how the XML RPC API was put into core. It still gets iterated on. The customizer is
yes
like a famous example of this, right? Like the customizer was built and it only did two things.
Right.
You could change your background or your header image. And it just keeps getting iterated on and they keep building really cool features for it and whatnot. But if the original standard for the customizer was, in order to be a feature of WordPress, you have to be able to do all of these things, like it never would have gotten there.
Right.
I mean, and this is the difference between like proprietary software and open source software, because like Wirecutter sets aside time for me to work on WordPress, but like no one tells me what to do. Like I don't get a Jira ticket from WordPress, right? That's like, this is what you have to do. I volunteer my time, and usually much more time than I'm offered from Wirecutter. But if you set the bar so high, it's hard to stay motivated in your free time to for like 3 years or so of being like, oh, they're going to let this in at some point, because it's also really hard to review and accept something into a project when it's that large of a change. Like the smaller a change is, right? Matt, I don't know if like your developers do code review or something, but like it's so much easier to review a few line change than it is to review like 200 files that are all new, right? So it's like, yeah.
Right. I mean,
it's like, I don't know what this breaks.
Right. All this is to say, what's the deal, right? Like, what's the deal? Let's just get this accepted here and move on. For folks, again, for folks who are not super technical, what is it that they could do to either show support or, sort of get this, just show support, right? For folks who don't know how to write a lick of code, I mean, what can they do? Can they do anything to show support for this to hopefully emphasize its, adoption?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Okay.
At this point in time, I don't have I have things I could throw out, but I don't want to waste people's time and assume that like that would really help. I don't know. I think the decision is kind of out of our hands and out of the community's hands, and kind of just stuck on waiting for folks to make a decision and then kind of set a direction. And but I guess the thing I would say is if you're not technical, and you have a developer who is or are looking at plugins or anything, I would suggest one of the best things you could do is kind of like spread the word for us, where you don't even have to know how to use it, but just, hey, hey, so-and-so, is this compatible with the REST API? Hey, have you used the REST API? Hey, could we use the REST API on our site? Like, spread the word and get folks thinking about us, and that would be a great help.
Pull out a pen and paper and start drafting. Dear Matt, we would like to have... You can address that to Hawthorne Street, San Francisco. No, I'm just kidding. It is something that of course, I'm looking forward to. It is tough. It is tough to be I mean, we're already an hour into the show. We're going to wrap it up fairly soon, but this could be another topic. It's somebody who it's very easy for folks to say, do the 5 for 5, contribute to WordPress, hop in. But there's a ton of other folks who support WordPress in ways that aren't writing lines of code or even writing lines of documentation. There are folks who do all kinds of things, just spreading the word of WordPress and convincing other people to use WordPress in its greatness. There's probably more of those than there are developers, I'd say, that do that on a consistent basis. And it's tough to find channels of support for things like this, right? I don't think there is an answer. I wish there was.
Yeah.
I think change.org, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say, I know that, as I said, it's a little pessimistic feelings lately, but I will say that that I love the WordPress community and have the utmost respect for the other, the lead developers and other committers for WordPress. And I have faith that eventually the tide will turn and someone will be like, why don't we do this? Let's just do it. And that person has the power to make it happen. So, I'm sure it will. It's just, I don't know when that day will be because I'm not that person.
Right. It's when you're pioneers, you're usually starting out something that no one else has ever set foot on or even ventured to go and do. And, that's the way I see you and your team with this stuff is you're really pioneering something, which is better than not pioneering it at all, right?
Yeah.
Pioneers go and they die with arrows in their backs, and the pilgrims die tending to sheep. And I don't know, I'd rather die with an arrow in my back than just tending to sheep all the time. Rachel, this has been a great conversation.
Thank you, Matt.
Where can folks find you on the web to say thanks?
I guess on Twitter at Rachel Baker or on WordPress TV or anywhere on a WordPress site as Rachel Baker.
Assuming you'll be at the next WordCamp US.
I will. I'm bowing out of speaking this time, but yeah, I will. I'm definitely gonna be there as a committer, and looking hopefully with WordPress 4.7 or 4.8 we can get some more movement on the REST API. But until then, WordPress comments are getting some improvements and coming along.
Nice. Nice.
Thanks, Matt.
Everybody else is mattreport.com/subscribe. Join the mailing list for awesome interviews like this. We'll see you next time.